Okay, so the ontological argument for the existence of God goes back to Anselm, and even before Anselm, you can find it in the writings of Augustine. Um, but to really lay out this argument, to set it on the table for your consideration, there are a couple of concepts that need to be explained first. Um, we could imagine the world to be different than the world in fact is. There are many different possibilities of how the world could have been, and all these different possibilities are logically possible worlds. Um, a unicorn, for example, does not, as best as I can tell, exist in the actual world. However, there's nothing self-contradictory about the idea of a unicorn. There's nothing self-contradictory in a horse having a horn on its forehead. Um, so, a being like a unicorn is logically possible. There is a logically possible world in which there exists a unicorn. Okay, so the idea of a logically possible world, that's the first concept we need. The next one would be the idea of supreme being. Okay, a common definition of God, even if you're an atheist, a common way to define God would be to say that God is the supreme being, or the allegedly existing supreme being. Um, so, so what does it mean to exist supremely? Well, uh, if you exist, I did not have to exist. There are logically possible worlds where I don't exist. Okay, so I don't have supreme being. Okay, I have some being, but I don't have it supremely, because there are logically possible worlds where I don't exist. If I were to exist in every logically possible world, then I would have supreme being. There's no way to have more being than to exist in every logically possible world. Okay, so that's the second idea we need, that of supreme being. And remember, we're defining God as the supreme being. Okay, so now we're asking the question, does God exist? And we're going to give the answer, yes, he does. And we're going to use the ontological proof to give that answer. So here's one way to formulate the ontological argument. Um, the idea of God as supreme being is not self-contradictory. Therefore, there is at least one logically possible world in which God, as supreme being, exists. But if God exists in at least one logically possible world, he must exist in all logically possible worlds. And the reason for that is because, as we said, he's defined as being necessary. He has to exist in every logically possible world, uh, if he exists at all. So, if he does exist in at least one logically possible world, he exists in, every logically possible world. But one of the logically possible worlds is the actual world. So God exists in the actual world. So yes, God exists. Okay, so I think probably the most common objection to this argument uh, would be to say that you've had theologians, you've had scientists, you've had philosophers arguing for hundreds of years, thousands of years even. It's one of the great mysteries of life: is there a God? And it shouldn't be this easy to say that yes, uh, with mathematical certainty, uh, there must exist a God, based on nothing else but the definition of God. But I don't think that's really a very good objection. Normally, what you would want to do, instead of just saying, "Oh well, it's word games or sleight of rhetoric," would be to say, "Well, one of the premises is fallacious," or "There's a logical error there, and here's the logical error." And I don't think anybody's really ever done that with the ontological argument. Um, at least with that popular objection, and of course, uh, this argument is quite controversial. The most controversial of the theistic arguments. for God to exist. Um, I think it's probably one of the it's probably the best one because it's a priori. In other words, you don't have to appeal to the universe or something in the universe. You can just use reason alone to reach the conclusion that there is a God. And a lot of people don't like that and would probably say this is the worst of the arguments. But I think it's a pretty strong argument, and I would like to hear your thoughts on why you or others would reject it or accept it. And again, it's which premise do you reject and why, or why does a conclusion not follow validly from the premises? Um, so I think just to repeat the argument, there is nothing self-contradictory about the idea of God. Therefore, God exists in at least one logically possible world. But if he exists in at least one logically possible world, he exists in all logically possible worlds. One of the logically possible worlds is our own world, the actual world, so God exists in the actual world. Therefore, God exists. Alright, so that's using uh, modal logic, the system, more technically called S5, but that's kind of technical. And the basic idea is God is defined as being having more being than any other possible being. So he, must exist in at least some world, and if in some world, in every world, including our own. So again, there is a God, and please give your comments, questions, criticisms, either in video responses or in the remarks at the bottom of the screen, and written responses. Um, so that's just something that we can think about and talk about. And I spent a lot of time thinking about the ontological argument. I think it's my favorite proof for God's existence. As I said, a lot of people don't like it, but I think we really ought to give it some respect, even if we don't end up accepting it as rationally compelling, logically irresistible, which I think it probably is. We should take time to think about it, think through it, and see where it goes wrong if it does go wrong. But again, I don't think there are any problems. But I do want to hear from you, so thank you. Shalom out.